I got black tested the other day, which is obnoxious because my blackness is constantly under investigation because black people can't tell where I'm from based on the way that I speak, so I'm constantly trying to prove myself. Just like, excuse me, brother, yeah. Can you name 2 of the 3 elements used in the band name Earth, Wind, and Fire? Earth and Wind, okay. Malcolm X's birth name. Malcolm Little. All right, finish this lyric. It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. Okay. Will you hide this for a month? No, correct, just a week. Really haven't been sleeping enough lately. Love sleep. Sleep, great, right? Round of applause for sleep if you love it. Sleep is great. Just doing nothing while your brain defragments. Being awake is great. Being awake is awesome too. Like, what? Orgasms and sushi? But like, it's the transition I don't care for. Waking up, right? Because you are ripped out of whatever your brain was doing to make you happy. Usually, I'm in a hot tub with a successful black actress while she gives me a back rub and I make puns on her name. They should call you Megan Good with your hands. And then she looks at me and she's like, And I wake up like, what? Sushi? I'm just willing to wager that nobody here today woke up this morning and said to yourself, oh my God, that was the exact amount of rest I needed. I'm on time for everything I need to do today. I like you, me, to yourself in the mirror. You walk out the door, off to the place where no one misunderstands me, called work. I just hate waking up more than anything. It's like number 1 on my list, waking up. Number one, waking up. Number 2 is racism. It goes waking up, then racism. Got priorities, and then small dogs. That's really the order. The only thing that could be worse is waking up to racism, which is awkward, to say the least. What a lovely rest. Why is this rope around my neck? Why is there a burning cross and pugs and chihuahuas everywhere? That's how I assume people find a burning cross. They kind of wake up to it, right? Smell it cooking. What is that, breakfast? Nope, just hatred. Because no one ever notices the workshop of the cross, guys building it. No one ever notices the dude sneaking down the street in white robes with a bunch of 2x4s, just like a Warner Brothers cartoon. It's like, be very, very quiet. I'm running for senator. On the count of 3, everybody yell out where you're from. 1, 2, 3. I've been there. I'm from a small town, like JB said, Las Vegas, Nevada. Yeah, here's my impression of everything I ever hear when I tell people I'm from Vegas. What? You're from Vegas? I didn't know anyone was from Vegas. Did you grow up in a casino? Did you get paid in poker chips? Well, all your teachers, showgirls, and those strippers, do all your family members have gambling problems? Just because it's true doesn't mean you have to say it. But that's what people think of Vegas, right? And I live in New York, so when I'm going home, I'm going to see my family, right? But the dudes on the plane next to me are going to partake in the Shangri-La of debauchery. So they're singing about what they're gonna see, and I got nothing, you know? They're next to me, they're like, yeah, Vegas, there's gonna be cocaine and hookers. And then I'm just like, I'm gonna sleep on my mom's couch. Or they're like, we're gonna drink and gamble all day and night. And then I'm just like, I hope she makes her spaghetti. Splash of cinnamon, that's the secret to my mom's black people spaghetti. Or they're like, we're gonna have experiences we'll never forget / never remember. And then I'm like, I'm gonna get into an awkward conversation with my white stepfather about who started slavery. Then I'll walk away and say, I don't want to talk about this. An hour later, he'll come over to me with the printout from the internet, throw it in my lap and say, see, Africans started it. And instead of stabbing him in the chest, I'll just say, Merry Christmas. So, it's different for me, because I sing the entire time.
Round of applause, you have roommates. You have roommates in the audience? Yeah. Your parents don't count. Your parents don't count. I lived with a cat once for 9 months. Let me rephrase that. I lived with the person that had a cat. I learned something very important when I lived with this cat. Because my roommate at the time, quote unquote, worked, and I do this. So I was at home with the cat all day by myself. QT with the kitty. And I learned how somebody becomes a crazy, insane cat person. You know, like a person that ceases to talk to humanity and has millions of cats. Because I got a taste of it. Because if you spend enough time alone with an animal, at some point, you will just start talking to that animal like it's a person. And not like cutesy, like talk, just like matter-of-fact sentences where you're like, perhaps a debate will start. And at first it's a joke. It's kind of like, hey, cat, what do you think about illegal immigration? Ha ha! You can't speak English or other languages? And then one day you're flipping the channel, you land on C-SPAN, you're paying attention, so's that cat. You're like, hey, cat, what do you think about this fiscal cliff, $1 trillion coin, your thoughts? And that cat gives you this look that makes you go, I should ask a follow-up question. And luckily for me, that's where it ended. But a lot of people, way too many people, ask the follow-up question. And that's when they find out they're not politically aligned with that cat. Like that cat is way more conservative than they thought. They're like, well, I need to balance this out. So they go back to the pet store trying to find a cat that's more liberal. The cat's like, hey, I'm a liberal, like, great. I need bipartisan cooperation in my apartment. So they bring the cat back trying to have, you know, a bunch of different debates about stuff. And they realize through what the cat's saying, they're not a liberal, they're a libertarian. And they're like, what? You don't know shit about. So they go back to the pet store trying to find like a left-leaning centrist, and other cats are like, I want to partake in the political process, and he's like, fine. So he gets every cat he can see, and they have their different political ideologies. Like this one's a Whig, that one's a Federalist, that one's Calico, and they bring them back to the apartment. Start having debates, you know, like all their different ideologies, you know, debating nuclear proliferation, signing feline legislation into law. And at some point, this person has gone insane. But they don't notice because they're so focused being the speaker of cat grist. You know what I mean? Making sure they have a gavel and a perfectly powdered wig, just like, the motion to make all things scratchable has been approved. I would now like to yield the floor to the distinguished gentle cat from South Carolina, Mr. Dr. Hieronymus Funnybottoms. Yes, thank you, Your Honor. It has come to the attention of the cats and kittens of this cat grist. You continue to consort with humanity, namely friends and relatives that are concerned for your well-being and want to save you from this insanity. I move you never talk to people again and only speak in a series of meows. What say you to that, dog? Got your tongue? And in conclusion, meow, 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 meow. All right.
I'm actually making a documentary this year in which I'm going to meet my father for the first time. I'm going to track this man down. I'm going to meet my biological father for the first time, and I was actually asked to come up with 10 different questions I want to ask this man, and so far I really only have one question that is burning on my heart and my mind, and I would like to share that with you today. One train is headed east to west at 100 miles per hour, while a bus is headed west to east at 60 miles per hour. Which of these got you away from us the fastest? That's really the only question I have so far.
Here's what's crazy about cell phones. They're not crazy. Everyone has one. People without one are crazy. Everyone has one. There's a 900-year-old woman on life support right now text messaging her daughter, well, I think this is the end. LOL. How many phone numbers do you have in your phone? 400, 500? How many do you actually call? 4?
10 if you're the president. And the rest are kind of there to be like, hey, people have seen my face. You ever put a nickname under a number in your phone like you're gonna remember what the heck that is? 3 months later, you're looking through your numbers like, who the hell is Baldhead Pete? Who is Twinkle Toes the Irish Ninja? Who is Loose Morals? But I love how dependent we've become on other people's cell phones. Like, we all have a person in our life that doesn't understand when we don't answer the phone. And that happens to me a lot because I have a girlfriend. Like, I'll leave my phone at home at the beginning of the day, or it'll die because I didn't charge it overnight. Then I get to come home to 30 voicemails from one person, going through the entirety of human emotion. Like, I'll have to, hey, it's me, give me a call when you get a chance. Okay, goodbye. Hey, it's me, call me back. Okay, goodbye. Huh. Yeah. If you get a chance, if you decide to consider my feelings, call me back. Okay. What the is going on? I will destroy you. Call me back. Okay, I'm really worried now. I called all of your friends and all of your family, and everyone says you're not answering your phone. What's going on? Let's call me. Okay. This message is for your ghost. I hope you have reception in the netherworld. Okay, I don't know. I'm being ridiculous. You probably left your phone at home, or you didn't charge. You know what? I shouldn't have freaked out. Just, when you get a chance, call me back. I'm sorry. Just disregard all of my voicemails. Okay. All right. Love you. Goodbye. What the? I know how to use a gun.
I have a lot of weird allergies. I'm allergic to weird things. I'm allergic to dairy. And I mean, I'm allergic to it. I'm not lactose intolerant. It's a totally different experience. Lactose intolerance is like, oh no, I had pizza, now I'm gonna fart. I mean, I accidentally had butter on a sandwich months ago, and my throat swole up to the point I could no longer breathe. They call it anaphylactic shock, and by they, I mean the doctor in the emergency room. And she prescribed me an EpiPen, which I keep on me at all times because nobody knows what dairy is. By the way, that's my PSA to you. No server, no chef, no owner of restaurant know what dairy is. That's how much dairy we eat as a society. We have forgotten it. I keep having the same conversation at restaurants. Can't have dairy, not because I'm cute, but because it might kill me. Ooh, what about eggs? Eggs are not dairy. But it's from a farm. Dairy's from a damn cow. Ooh, what about asparagus? That's a vegetable. Ooh, what about arsenic? That's literally a poison. Ooh, what about arsenic and old lace? That's an old play. Ooh, what about The Crucible? Different old play. Ooh, what about Man Ray? That's a visual artist. Ooh, what about Ray Manzarek? He's from The Doors. Like, nobody knows what dairy is. Nobody knows.
I've been traveling a lot lately. It's good. I've been going to the South a lot lately, which is good because I've been meaning to run more. Lynchburg, how did your town come to be named that? Well, I'm glad you asked. Once upon a time, many Negroes. One day, none. Have a good visit. Doot-dee-dee-doot-dee-doo-doot. It's pretty amazing. America's an amazing country. There's so many voices, dialects, accents, languages, things like that. But there's one voice that you hear no matter where you go, and that's the way newscasters talk. You know what I'm saying? It's in every single language. Later tonight on Channel 23 News. Or it could be like Spanish, a telemundo 23. Or it could be like Norwegian, flurgen gurgity flurg, flurgen gurg, gurgen flurgen gurg, channel gurgity flurg. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I tend to develop crushes on female news anchors. I found out why. 2 reasons. Number 1, I've dated a lot of insane psycho women. So now I have a thing for women that state facts. Also, I think it'd be great to hook up with the female news anchor and then her talk dirty to me in that voice because I would request that. Later tonight, almonds, whipped cream, and ice cream. Find out what happens when your penis becomes my dessert. My breasts, fun and delicious. Start at the nipples, work your way around news at 5. Later tonight, special expose, your penis, my vagina, what you don't know could kill you.